Now, many of us don't know the Indian connection to the infamous dieselgate scandal of 2015 in which German automaker Volkswagen was involved. It is a classic David versus Goliath story where the research findings of Indian named KAPPANNA along with two other PhD students at West Virginia University led to the German automaker Volkswagen being pulled up for lying about its diesel car emissions and for using a cheat device in its cars in the US. The ensuing scandal cost the German automaker Volkswagen big money, where Volkswagen had to pay an estimated $33 billion in fines and damages, out of which $23 billion were paid as fine in the US alone. Now, KAPPANNA helped expose the Volkswagen diesel scandal as he was the man at the center of a tailpipe emission scandal. He was hailed as the hero that time, but fame couldn't help KAPPANNA from getting the pink slip. Earlier this year, KAPPANNA was laid off by General Motors along with 4,000 other employees as part of a restructuring exercise. KAPPANNA is now back in India searching for jobs in Bengaluru. He is both bewildered and amused by the attention he got after being laid off by the same industry he roiled as a PhD student. If an early 21st century history of the automobile industry is written, KAPPANNA would probably be mentioned as one who changed the business or at least altered its course. And so earlier, our Bengaluru correspondent Nishchita Virender talked to KAPPANNA, the man who was instrumental in telling the world about the infamous dieselgate scandal perpetrated by German automaker Volkswagen. Listen into what he had to say.
In Europe, there was already a study which had found the emissions from diesel cars were higher than the limit, and the organization or the agency, or it's a non-profit organization called ICCT, International Council for Clean Transportation. They approached several people to put a proposal to test these vehicles in U.S. because they are the same vehicles which were sold in U.S. With a label called clean diesel. U.S. Emission thresholds are much higher than the regulations is much higher, so they were curious to find out whether they are able to meet that in U.S. And the proposal, we wrote the proposal, and there were 3 contenders, and we outbid them, and we got the project. It was a $70,000 project, and we tested 3 vehicles, 2 of them being Volkswagen vehicles and 1 being the BMW. So Volkswagen had 2 different technologies to control their emissions, and so we just tested the Jetta and Passat, and the BMW was an SUV. So while doing this test, again, we had this equipment which we put it in the vehicle and keep measuring emissions while we are driving on the road, like any normal commute. We did see some high numbers, and we did not know what was going on, and we thought that it could be something which could have been negotiated between Volkswagen and the Environmental Protection Agency, saying that they cannot meet emission thresholds at certain points. So those numbers kind of were high, and we put this report without knowing what exactly it is, and the agencies took a note of that, and they started their own investigation, and it was like, that's how it came to know when Volkswagen also admitted that they were using a software which was not legal. Right now I'm keeping my options open, and I would love to work with Indian automakers because there is the new Bharat Stage 6 going to go into effect in 2020, and which is a derivative of Euro 6, which was some of the parts were added on to the Euro 6 based on as an outcome of Volkswagen scandal. So I can be of a value there to help either on both the sides, either the regulator or the regulated. So I'll be looking for opportunities here and also keep the options open for U.S. Again, I am here to work and contribute what I have.
Now let's tell you what the Volkswagen Dieselgate scandal was all about. In September of 2015, the Environmental Protection Agency of US found that many Volkswagen cars being sold in America had a defeat device or software in diesel engines that could detect when they were being tested, changing the performance accordingly to improve results. The cars that were involved were Volkswagen models Jetta, Beetle, Golf and Passat, and Audi A3 sedan. Volkswagen admitted to have installed illegal defeat devices in these cars. Hundreds of thousands of cars that were involved in the scandal were in use since 2009. And Volkswagen's Porsche, Audi Seat and Skoda brands were involved besides Volkswagen's owned branded cars. And there were a total of 11 million diesel vehicles worldwide that were involved, out of which 8.5 million cars were involved in Europe, 600,000 in the US. Now the cars spewed out to 40 times more pollutants than actually permitted. Volkswagen was heavily penalized in India as well, where it was directed by the National Green Tribunal to deposit rupees 500 crores as fine for damaging the environment through the use of a cheat device in its diesel cars.